Okay, I'm going to cover something that I have not covered in the past. In the first year of this channel, I covered establishing a base camp. I've never covered establishing a patrol base. I thought about it at work last weekend, decided, okay, maybe I should finally knock this out, and I'm going to use the terrain board for it. So the task we are going to be talking over, giving you ideas on, is establishing a platoon patrol base. This is for a guerrilla organization, a resistance organization, not a conventional military. And because it's not a conventional military, you can take anyone's doctrine and lessons from history, modify it to suit your needs in your particular area. Now, under U.S. doctrine, you're only supposed to occupy a patrol base for no longer than 24 hours. Depending on the operations we have to do in this area, we may have to occupy it for longer than that. My recommendation would be a maximum of 5 to 7 days. 24 hours being your ideal. Otherwise, plan for 2 to 3. Now, to orientate you on the board here, we got our platoon that's going to be coming up. We're going to be occupying a patrol base in here. And we're going to be occupying this base because we're going to be conducting operations over here. We got a town over here where the enemy has set up a combat outpost, a COP, and they have patrols moving through the area. We got to observe it, get information, see, can we do a raid on that outpost? How should we do it? When should we do it? That's the purpose of the patrol base. And then after we would conduct our raid, we would withdraw from this area, move to another location for other operations. Now, our element, which is down here, we're going to have a 3-squad platoon and a small logistics train. Our small logistics train, think about, you're a guerrilla, you can't get on the radio, you cannot call in for that truckload or helicopter to bring you MREs, water, and ammunition. You're either going to have to capture it in the area or bring some of it with you. So we're going to say we have a logistics train in this, maybe 2 porter teams. And those 2-man porter teams are carrying either a litter type setup or 2 poles with the supplies strapped underneath those poles. And they get those poles up on their shoulder and they're bringing the supplies up. Now your porters, if you do that type of stuff, remember to rotate them out. They are going to get tired. So probably have it, each 2-man team comes from a different squad and you just rotate through. Okay, and do not put the people that are carrying your heavier weapons, your crew serves, your squad automatic weapons necessarily on the porter teams because they're already going to be tired from carrying their weapon. So think about your riflemen and that stuff. They're the ones that are going to definitely get rotated through carrying those supplies. What would those supplies be? Well, things like a water jug for each squad for when you do your water plan. Maybe some cases of MREs, some additional cans of ammunition, maybe some additional rockets. Hell, maybe you have a Barrett 50 caliber for your squad designated marksman or your platoon designated marksman. Well, that's really heavy to carry. Well, attach it to one of those logistics stretchers to get it up there. And then, that designated marksman carries, a M4 or some other carbine while he's actually moving in a patrol. But you get the idea. The heavier stuff that you guys can't carry in your rucksacks, have it in that mini logistics train. Now we set up a platoon stop back here. We've already chosen, by looking at a map, an area where we think we can put in a patrol base, and it's up in here. Now, some criteria for a potential patrol base. And just give you a heads up, I will put some links in the description to the video here to some videos I recommend you watch on patrol base operations, establishing it, to give you a better idea on stuff here. But your patrol base should be relatively near a potable water source. That's water you can drink, or at least filter to make it drinkable. You don't want something that's heavily contaminated. You want a location that avoids civilians, built up areas, and roadways. You don't want it really close to where civilian traffic is going to be. They're going to walk through your area, drive through your area, drive right past it and see you. Avoid close enemy positions, patrols, outposts, bases. Avoid enemy activity as much as possible. You want to be away from that so that they're not going to notice you. If they notice you, they're going to kill you. Pick an area that is not considered strategically important. Why is that? Because strategically important locations are more likely to be under enemy observation, either by the Mark 1 eyeball, by satellite, by some type of camera, by some type of drone. Pick an area not likely to be patrolled or is near civilian travel. Avoid hilltops and ridges where you could potentially be skylighted. Think about that. Sun's going down, people are moving around, sun's going to light you up from the back. Well, someone might see you, that dark shadow moving around. Avoid open areas. Try to find a location where the surrounding terrain impedes enemy movement. And the most important part on this, find a location that offers good cover and concealment both night and day. So, somewhere that's forested. Stay out of those abandoned farms, abandoned towns. Stay in the woods as much as possible. Stay hidden in the microterrain, you know, hidden in the draws, hidden in the ravines, that type of stuff. And for cover and concealment, you also want a location that potentially will offer you good and easy escape routes. Now, first off, the leader, the patrol leader, the platoon leader will look at his map. He will pick a primary location where he wants to put in the patrol base, and at least one alternate location. Because that primary location you pick might not be as optimal as you thought. You might get there, find out it's occupied by the enemy. Find out it's contaminated with chemical weapon strike. Find out that it's sitting on top of a minefield. That's where you shift to those alternates. Now, you also go off of your knowledge of the area also. I should mention that. As a guerrilla, you're going to know the terrain better than the enemy. That will assist you with finding something that may not be on the map. That little hidden area. You start moving out on your patrol. The platoon leader will designate one squad as his quartering party. This is different than U.S. military doctrine where they do it as a leader's recon. I say do it as a squad. So that way, if they get separated from the rest of the patrol when they're out doing the quartering party, they still are essentially a small self-contained unit. They're all together, they have their leadership, and everyone back here has their leadership. Now the platoon will move forward short of the anticipated patrol base. They should stop roughly 300 to 500 meters away. And that's if you have decent visibility and that stuff. If you're doing this at night, doing this in fog, you might want to stop a little bit closer, maybe 100 to 200 meters away. The patrol, the platoon, will take up a security position, take up a halt with as the best cover and concealment as possible. You do not want to be out in the open. Get your people spread out, cigar fashion around your unit here. Start doing security. Our platoon leader, who's right here on this one, he's going to be the one carrying the radio. He will then tell the squad that is going to be the quartering party to move forward. That squad will move forward, and they will take with them 2 people from the forwardmost squad here when they get into their security position. Those 2 people they bring with them will be left as an LPOP at the turn point for going into the patrol base. So our squad moves forward. They find the area where they're going to do the turn at, leaves in our 2 people here in the bushes. They're watching make sure no one comes from this direction to hit the patrol. They're making sure no one comes through here. They should have radio communications with the patrol and with your quartering party. Doesn't have to be a man-pack radio. It can be just a little itty-bitty handheld radio set to the lowest powers possible, just enough that your transmission gets through. Quartering party will then move into the area where the patrol base is anticipated to be set up. So that's going to be our squad leader, and he has his people spread out. He'll have one person back here where our entrance and exit would be, and he has the team leaders spread out the other people in at least the anticipated perimeter for the patrol base. They secure the area, they get themselves set up in the locations where the enemy is most likely to approach. Squad leader then starts checking the inside area. Maybe he'll have one other person with him, a second set of eyeballs. Check that area out. Make sure there's no signs of recent enemy activity, no signs of booby traps, of landmines, chemical weapons use. You're checking suitability. Make sure that it's got decent drainage. You don't want to set up in the middle of a swamp. That's just going to cause people problems. You know, you want relatively dry ground. You should already know how far you are away from a water source, and our water source is down here. We'll say we got a stream that runs down here at the base of the rise. Now, once the team leaders have security set up, it's all set. Squad leader has checked the area, and he's also checked the perimeter too to see how good that will work out also. He will call the team leaders in. Everyone, the 3 of them will then talk. You know, what do you think? Will this area work out? Yes or no? What's good about it? What's bad about it? That type of thing. Should we change locations? Should we move farther in, pull farther back? You know, meeting of the minds. They decide that this area will work, and this is not an open area. This is all forested trees up in here. He will then give Gatwa, G-O-T-W-A. I did a video on that in the past, if I remember correctly, to the team leaders. He will take one person back with him and return to the patrol. The team leaders are in charge. They know what to do if the enemy comes into the area. They have their orders. Squad leader comes down, notifies our LPOP down here. Yes, the area will work. I'm going to bring up the patrol. Squad leader comes back, links up with the platoon. Notifies the platoon leader on, yes, the area will work and we should start moving forward. So the platoon will then move forward to occupy the area. They will move up to just past the LPOP here, so that these guys then become kind of the rear security. The platoon will concentrate in here, but still maintain their cigar shape. If there's not enough room in here, they will stop just short up in here. The squad leader that was in charge of the quartering party, he will then guide in each squad one by one and filter them into their anticipated area on the perimeter. So our first squad will be brought in, and then with that squad will be the platoon leader or patrol leader. So they will come in. And they will occupy their section of the perimeter. They will replace this guy here at the corner. He will move down the perimeter, take up his position in his squad's part of the perimeter. Platoon leader will set himself up in the center with his RTO, radio telephone operator. Squad leader will come back. He will then get the logistics train, bring those guys up. They will move into the center of the perimeter, and they will wait there for the platoon sergeant to let them know what to do with the stuff. When everyone comes in, they automatically go into security positions. Get down in a prone, get their weapons set up. Squad leader comes back, gets that last squad, brings them up, and they get set out in their part of the perimeter. Platoon sergeant was back with the rear squad. He comes in, links up with the logistics train and the platoon leader. After that's set up, the squad leader will come back, get our two guys that were on the LPOP duty, guide them up, link them up with their squad. The squad leader will then join his squad, the quartering party squad leader, and then whoever will be assigned LPOP's position over here, they will be dispatched from that squad when we get to that point for priorities of work. Now we're going to do a little halt. We're going to wait a little bit of time. Could be 15 minutes, could be 30 minutes, could be an hour. It's going to be up to the platoon leader. That's to make sure they're not being followed. So everyone's down, they're concealed, weapons at the ready. Now, once the platoon leader is certain that they have not been discovered, have not been followed, we're going to occupy this area. Each squad will send out a two-man recon team of the area for in front of their squad's perimeter. It'll be one team leader and one soldier. That squad leader will stay with his squad to conduct priorities of work. Difference with U.S. doctrine. U.S. doctrine, they send out the squad leader. So each squad will send back the team leader with their one scout, link up with the platoon leader. He will tell them how far out he wants them to go. It might be to a set location, like search to this point over here, or it could be I want you to search 250 meters out in front, whatever it turns out to be. And you will double check down in here too. Now your recon teams, they get their orders, they come up, let their squad leader know. They then move to the left corner, the left flank of their position. That will be their exit point. Everyone needs to find out from the squad. The squad leader will notify them that, hey, we're about to send out the recon. Do it quietly. Thumbs up. Recon team goes up, comes out, does their loop, comes back in at the right flank of that squad's position. Report in to the squad leader, lets them know what he found in front. Recon team then pulls back, lets the platoon leader know what he's found in front. Remember Gatwa, going where, others going with, time we anticipate leaving and returning, where we're going, what we're doing, actions on enemy contact. Make sure you get that confirmation that everybody knows. And that's as you're leaving. Now at this point, the squad leaders are going to tell their people to start their priorities of work. And it could be just pushing people forward a little bit to conform to the terrain, make it a little bit better, expand the perimeter out, maybe pull it in, you know, whatever's needed. Squad leader will go back from each squad, link up with the platoon leader when those team leaders have returned to the squad. The platoon leader with the squad leaders will come up with basically their initial plan for the patrol base. Disseminate information, you know, any emphasis on the platoon's standard operating procedures that may be required for that site. Make sure everyone knows the challenge and password for at least the next 24 hours. Make sure the communications plan is understood. Make sure everyone knows the likely escape routes for not just their sector, but the nearby sectors. And also where the rally points will be in case you have to bug out of this area as fast as possible. Squad leaders return, and then we officially start our priorities of work. You know, you had some of it going on, moving your perimeter just a little bit. Well, now's when you go in. If it's decided that a fighting position needs to be in a certain area because of the location of the enemy, fighting position gets put in. Make sure, cover and concealment, conceal it as much as possible. LPOPs are sent out on likely approach routes to the perimeter. Sector sketches are done for each squad. Range cards for crew-served weapons. And on your sector sketches, which includes the information from your range card, you also put on there the locations of any mines, tripwires, flares, warning devices that are put out on the perimeter. Once the squad leader has that done, he brings that copy back to the platoon leader so that he can do the security plan or finish the security plan for the patrol base. And he will then say, okay, I want X% of people on alert at all times. Could be 50%, 75%, whatever it is. And then what's the percentage for the people that are allowed to rest, eat, clean weapons, clean gear. Whatever needs to be done. Squad leaders go back, they set up their guard schedules, determine their LPOP rotations based off guidance from the platoon leader. The platoon leader goes through, finishes up his bug out plan. You know, what's the signal going to be at night? What's the signal going to be during the day? when he goes out and he does his little check of the perimeter, his inspection, he will let each squad leader know and make sure that they're aware of it. Now the platoon sergeant, while this is going on, he's setting up the platoon supply point or points wherever they're concealing the stuff that came up on those litters or litter. He's also setting up the casualty collection point where the platoon's medic will be at. He will make sure that a latrine is set up for the patrol base, concealed as best as possible. And he will come up with the water refill plan. A maximum of twice a day or twice per 24-hour period. The platoon sergeant will send out water refill plan down to the stream. They'll filter water, get it into the water jugs, bring it back up, back to the supply point in there, so that people can top off their water bladders, their canteens, whatever is needed. Now, the best patrol base, keep this in mind, the best patrol base for a guerrilla is one that the counterinsurgent can literally walk right through and not even realize that he did it. So you're not necessarily going to want to go through, do those big elaborate fighting positions, that big elaborate CP, big elaborate casualty collection point. It'll just be a location designated, you know, maybe it'll be a tarp hidden inside a clump of bushes. Now the exit from here, when you're leaving the area, there should only be, I should mention this, only one entry and exit point, which will be determined by the platoon leader. It may not be where you actually came in at. He may say, well, the enemy's over here. We're going to put the exit and entry point up here at this corner. But the exit plan for this area, when we're going to pull out, the platoon will leave on a different route than the one they came in on, if possible. Preferably through your exit and entry point. Any fighting positions that were dug should be filled in and camouflaged. The area should be cleaned up. No trace should be left behind. You then move out to your next patrol base or to conduct the operation, and then when the operation is complete, you move on to your next anticipated patrol base. Now, while you're in the patrol base, limit your radio transmissions. Remember, your enemy can use radio tracking equipment, radio direction finding equipment to find out where you're at. Keep it to a damn minimum, preferably not at all. Field phones in the perimeter and your LPOPs. You don't have to carry a whole DR8 to wire. You can have just the required sections that you need, 100 feet, 200 feet of wire. Just a quick little spool that's inside a rucksack and a couple field phones. And don't forget the switchboard too if you're going to do that. Always remember noise, light, and litter discipline. Constantly, 24 hours a day. No fires at night. No white lights at night. No major noises. If people got to talk, keep it to a minimum. Movement, especially during the daytime, kept to a minimum. Remember your IR signatures with your concealment and stuff, especially areas where people are going to sleep. And you're going to want to sleep relatively close to where your security position is going to be on the perimeter. When you send out little patrols or whatever for checking this area, you send out a squad, you need to change your perimeter, push people around to fill in the gaps where those people leave. Crew served weapons, post them on likely any areas that the enemy is going to approach from. Mines, use them sparingly. If you put any type of mines out, preferably command detonated. Grape shots, claymores, you get the idea. Flares. Flares and early warning devices, if you put any in, put them as far out as possible. so that it'll give you plenty of warning. Make sure everybody knows where rally points are, escape routes, all the information. And everyone needs to know why they're there. I'll put some links in the description. Maybe I'll put it as a pinned comment over at YouTube at the top so people will see it. Watch those to get a better idea on how this stuff works. I just took information from that and other videos and modified it for a resistance organization. Now, for all my engineer brothers in the Patriot and militia movements, always remember, essayons.